Blastpop here. Today I'm looking at my downloaded copy of the Lock and Load Tactical and Core Rules. This is the version 5.0 and it's available online to purchase with a spiral bound booklet that contains everything that's in the downloaded version, and the price is $50. Now I have mixed emotions on acquiring the actual spiral bound copy. While that is a very attractive product, I'd rather put the $50, and it's just me speaking, into buying another game in the series or another game from Lock and Load. And that's just me. Some people like to have a nice fresh copy. So I printed this out, and I have a source that I can get it done for free. So, you know, the ink and the paper didn't cost me anything, and I used an existing 3-ring binder to be able to utilize for this purpose. So I made an extra cover sheet, and I planted it in the binder, and then I have the actual rules book right here. Now, this game goes back to a time when Matrix Games first published it for Mark Walker, who's the game designer. And it started out with the Americans. And since then, Mark took it back and created Lock and Load Publishing, which then was sold. And now the new owner has put a lot of time, effort, and I'm sure blood, sweat, and tears into making the product into a well integrated system that allows players to switch from, say, the Western Front in World War II to the Eastern Front to the jungles of Vietnam with very little difficulty. Now, here is some of the contents, and it's color-coded based on the section, and you'll find that up in the corners, you will find, like where my finger is, a corresponding section, so you can look for the color and then hone in on what it is that you're looking to look up and read about. So, I mean, you have your general concepts, your outline of play, your rally, your operations, fire combat, movement, smoke, which is its entire own section, and that changes the tactics quite a bit. Melee combat, administrative, line of sight and sighting, which is important. Single man, unit counters, skills, national characteristics, ordnance, vehicles, passengers, infantry, artillery against vehicles, indirect fire, aircraft, and helicopters. Yes, folks, this system also has a modern component. Now, when Lock and Load Publishing had published version 4.0, they had two separate rule books, one for modern and one for World War II. And while that was a good concept, it probably kind of cut down on the ability for people to learn the rules and be able to go from the modern era to World War II or vice versa, because you'd have to be sure that all the rules were applicable. Here, everything's unified into one master rules book, and then it goes on to night combat, fortifications, scenario information, additional weapons and equipment, system, series resources, examples of play, and so on and so forth. So it is quite an extensive package. At the very beginning, what do the pieces represent? What do the numbers represent? It's all listed right here. And it is extensive in the same way for leadership, heroes, medics, mounted units, vehicles, tanks, weapons teams, you name it, it's there. You have an introduction. You have pictures of the units based on this section of the rules book or map sections or what have you. Multiple cases of examples for some of the more complex rule sections, and I know that for a fact with line of sight and combat. Just poking through here. Very well illustrated with examples, developers notes. You do extended range. I mean, anything conceivable that you can do, I believe, is pretty much in this rules book. Now, this rules book is billed as you don't have to read it cover to cover to be able to play the game. They suggest you set up a beginning scenario with a limited number of pieces and maps, and just start pushing the counters around. First reading the sequence of play, and then learning how to do things. And this game is meant to be played. Again, more examples. And then you can, if reading while you're moving the pieces and trying to learn the game, you have a question. There's numerous examples to be able to try to work it out. And then it goes on, just page after page. I mean, it's just an incredible rules book. Something I haven't seen since, well, ASL, when it came out around Christmas of 1985. I've never seen quite a rules book quite like that. But this is a much simpler system, and it does seem to cover a lot of the possibilities of the eras that they intend to cover. Hopefully less time in the rules book, more time on the game table. And then it goes on and on. Here's additional equipment: Japanese stick bombs, Italian 20mm ATRs, Claymore mines, battle generators, infantry narrative. More examples, extensive examples. And I believe there's actually more in the series than in the rule book than I actually printed out. Here's a fire for effect and how it impacts the various types of units. Enough to make you go crazy trying to figure that one out. So all in all, it's a wonderful package. I was cheap, I admit it, but I want to play the game, and I have played the game in the past, and I recently played some of the Vietnam era one. I also relatively recently, picked up Heroes of the Motherland, and I'm looking to do some of that as well. I'm also been turned on to the Vassal version of the system, which is nice because while the footprint for the scenarios are fairly small, especially if you use the maps that come in the box, sometimes it's just nice to be able to go away, save the game, and come back at a later time and just load it up from where you left off. System plays reasonably well solitaire, and plus with the advantage of Vassal, which is originally was a virtual ASL system, it gives you the ability to play somebody across the globe from you. So anyway, I digress here a little bit. Sorry about that. But again, I'm overwhelmed by the scope and the wonderful package this represents. Great job, David Heath. Anyway, this gives you a sense for what you have available. So if you can afford it, buy the package from Lock and Load Publishing. If not, download the rules. And this has been Blastpop. Please like this video, share comments, and subscribe. Bye.